Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
I'm Serena Williams, and I'm healthier on Ro. I've lost 34 pounds in a year with GLP-1s, diet, and exercise. On Ro, you can access GLP-1 options, including the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss. Go to ro.co/journey to see if you qualify. 14 to 20% average weight loss in 1 year in non-diabetics with obesity or overweight with a weight-related medical condition versus 2.2% to 3.1% in placebo arm. RX only. To stay informed about serious side effects, go to ro.co/safety.
And away we go. Episode 1384 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, August 10th, 2026. It's funny how things work out. The Washington Commanders have a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins this Wednesday morning at 10:30 and then have a preseason game against the Dolphins at Northwest Stadium this Friday night at 7. Washington's number one left tackle, Laremy Tunsil, he was drafted by the Dolphins. He was taken by the Dolphins with the number 13 overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft out of Ole Miss. You may remember what happened with him on the night of the first round of the 2016 NFL Draft. His Twitter account, presumably having been hacked, showed a video of him wearing a gas mask and smoking a substance from a bong. This was a really big deal at the time. What Tunsil was doing in that video is what we all should have been doing this past Saturday night when the brutal news came out. Reports that Laremy Tunsil, during Saturday morning's training camp practice, suffered a torn triceps, potentially making him out for all of the 2026 season. An absolute gut punch if you are a Washington fan, as I am and always will be. But man, what is up with the bad injury luck for our team since the start of last regular season? Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This also is a podcast in which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year and no matter the news, however good or bad. And sadly, we have some very bad news to discuss on this installment of the podcast. Coming up on the show, a lot on our football team. Next segment, reaction to the devastating news of Laremy Tunsil having suffered a torn triceps. What now for Washington at left tackle? The following segment, a happier topic, discussion of receiver Stefon Diggs off Washington officially signing him as an unrestricted free agent, and off comments from Diggs and head coach Dan Quinn, including insight from Diggs on why he signed with Washington and what he brings to Washington, and Quinn very much indicating how Washington will use Diggs. And the segment after that, thoughts on a number of roster transactions announced by Washington, injury updates on center Nick Allegretti and tight end John Bates, a key update in the kicker competition, and more off comments from head coach Dan Quinn and punter Tress Way. And also on the show, breakdowns of the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles weekends. The Nats over the weekend swept a 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds at Nationals Park. The O's over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games at the Texas Rangers in a big series in the American League wildcard race. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You could reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. Email from Jason Chestnut Jr. on the Washington Commanders signing Stefon Diggs. Writes Jason, Galdi, we did it. We finally signed Stefon Diggs. You know I've been wanting him from the start. Was I slightly biased because he's a Maryland product? Yes, but that doesn't matter because he is here now. My favorite all-time Washington Redskin WR is teaming up with my all-time favorite Maryland WR. This feels like a dream. My WR wish list from episode 1349 had Diggs, then Booty, then Ayuk. We got the guy I wanted, so now Terry not only has a real QB1, but a real WR2. Diggs is an established player who has played recently. He isn't going to come here and be asked to be the one and only feature, unlike what we've been asking for Terry. Diggs has been only posting about putting in the work, unlike Ayuk, and Diggs is going to be that other edge of the double-edged sword. But really, this offense is like many edges on a sword. JD5, Bill, White, Chig, Terry, Diggs, and whoever steps up to fill that WR3 role. It's going to be interesting for sure. Since we are moving guys around now, we are going to see Terry and others showcase some position flex. Insert Ron soundbite. That's my favorite soundbite, and that will be exciting. But someone is on the chopping block. Who is it? Terry, Diggs, and Antonio Williams are your absolute givens. Then there are Treylon Burks, De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, and Van Jefferson. Burks and Brown have been having good camps. Lane is our return guy, and I've heard good things about Van. I think it comes down to Luke or Van, but it's hard to know for sure. What do you think? If you had to cut one, who would it be and why? It's a tough choice, but this is a good problem to have. So much depth that making a cut is hard. That's how you know that we are in the good. We are officially dangerous again. Got to call in the rest of the NFC East and put out the word that we are back up. Getting me a Diggs jersey ASAP, but let's just hope this offense can stay healthy long enough for me to see the jersey in action at the home opener, as me and my family will be there as part of our family tradition to reunite and tailgate at Commanders games. Thanks for all you do, Goldie. Here's to a healthy and hopefully unforgettable season. Hashtag position flex. Hashtag in AP we trust. Hashtag raise hail. Thank you for the email, Jason. Long live a favorite phrase of Ron Rivera during his time as Washington head coach.
Position flex.
Thank you, Ron. Position flex. Know this. Washington, for its first two cutdowns to 53 with Adam Peters as general manager and Dan Quinn as head coach, never kept more than 6 receivers. Washington, in its cut down to 53 for the 2024 season, kept 6 receivers. Washington, in its cut down to 53 for the 2025 season, kept just 5 receivers. The team's current group of receivers: Terry McLaurin, Stefon Diggs, Antonio Williams, Treylon Burks, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, De'Ami Brown, Van Jefferson, Jaden Bradley, Jacoby Jones, Nick Nash, and River Craycraft. The perceived top 8 receivers in some order are McLaurin, Diggs, Williams, Burks, McCaffrey, Lane, Brown, and Jefferson. If we are just examining those perceived top 8 receivers, the absolute locks to make the initial 53-man roster, assuming health, clearly are Terry McLaurin, Stefon Diggs, and Antonio Williams. Now, Luke McCaffrey last regular season was great on kickoff returns and started to come on as a receiver. Jalen Lane last regular season was great on punt returns. I'd be very surprised if either guy got cut in the team's cut down to 53 for the 2026 season. The receivers out of the perceived top 8 who I think are most in danger of being cut are Treylon Burks, De'Ami Brown, and Van Jefferson. And this is one of those situations where you look at the contracts. Each guy has a nothing contract. But Dan Quinn has had very nice things to say about Treylon Burks, De'Ami Brown, and Van Jefferson. So this is a tough call. And of course, the wild card in all of this is the unknown. Somebody could get injured, and or somebody could get traded, and or somebody who Adam Peters and or Dan Quinn really like could get released by another team. You never know. We had 2026 Washington Commanders training camp over the last 3 days, had 2 days of practice. There was a practice on Friday morning and a practice on Saturday morning, what was a padded practice. So the players on Sunday had the day off. The team will hold a practice on Monday morning. And the A topic during head coach Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Monday morning unquestionably will be the terrible news that broke this past Saturday night. Reports that left tackle Laremy Tunsil during Saturday morning's practice suffered a torn triceps. Tunsil during Saturday morning's practice walked into the medical tent after a one-on-one rep against outside linebacker Odafe Owe and then went inside the team facility. By the way, cornerback Trey Amos, he during Saturday morning's practice went inside the team facility, but Tunsil got injured during Saturday morning's practice, and then we on Saturday night got reports that he had suffered a torn triceps. Just awful news. NFL insider Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, he on Saturday night broke the news via a post on X, saying that sources had told him and NFL insider Steve Wyche of NFL Network that, quote, Laremy Tunsil suffered a torn triceps in practice today during one-on-one pass rush drills. He'll likely require surgery and will miss at least a significant portion of the regular season, end quote. From Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack in a piece on Saturday night, quote, Laremy Tunsil suffered a torn triceps in Saturday's practice and is expected to undergo surgery, sources told Last Man Standing. The recovery timeline is uncertain, but Tunsil would likely miss parts of, if not the entire, upcoming season if surgery is required, end quote. If you go by what is being reported, the realistic best case scenario seems to be that Tunsil is out for 4 months. The realistic best case scenario is that the guy is out for 4 months. That would put us into December. And of course, it may well be that Tunsil is out for all of the 2026 season. There is no sugarcoating this news. There is no putting a happy face on this news. There is no putting a smiley face on this news. There is no silver lining this news. This is horrendous news. Laremy Tunsil is not just Washington's starting left tackle. He is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. Washington's LT1, whose initials are LT, is out for a while, maybe the entire 2026 season. So what now? Well, Washington could install its top backup offensive tackle, Andrew Wiley, as the starting left tackle. Washington could move its starting right tackle, Josh Connerly Jr., to being the starting left tackle. Washington could move Brandon Coleman, who's competing for the starting left guard job, but who for much of the 2024 season was Washington's starting left tackle, to being the starting left tackle. Washington could acquire a left tackle, like, say, unrestricted free agent left tackle Taylor Decker. A lot of ways that Washington could go, but none of them are as appealing as a healthy Laremy Tunsil. We on Sunday morning did get reports that as of now the plan is to have Brandon Coleman as the starting left tackle. That to me makes the most sense, barring the acquisition of somebody better. I do think that Coleman did a decent job as a starting left tackle for much of the 2024 season. I get the thought of moving Josh Connerly Jr. to left tackle, given that Washington took him as a left tackle out of the University of Oregon in taking him with the number 29 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. But moving Connerly to left tackle would disrupt his development at right tackle and would create disruption at two starting offensive tackle spots. Not ideal, but of course, none of this is ideal. I mean, Laremy Tunsil was one of the players who Washington could least afford to lose. Number one on the list is the QB1, Jaden Daniels, and God help us if our team loses him for a substantial period of time. And number two on the list was either the WR1, Terry McLaurin, or the LT1, Laremy Tunsil. Take your pick. And when it comes to how good he is at his position, you could argue that Tunsil is the best of the bunch, that he is the best player on the team. Depends on how you view Daniels, but, Daniels has only had one high-level NFL season. Tunsil has had many high-level NFL seasons, and consider this, too, the favorite to be Washington starting center Nick Allegretti. He remains out due to a calf strain. More on his situation later in the show, but the team right now has big-time questions at both the left tackle and center spots. Not good. Now, Washington's 2026 season has not been canceled. There still will be a season. All hope is not lost. But Laremy Tunsil suffering a torn triceps is a major blow. And, of course, takes you right back to our team getting hammered by terrible injury luck last regular season. The presumption had been that the team couldn't help but have better injury luck for the 2026 season. Well, we are not off to a good start with what has happened with Laremy Tunsil. So the Washington Commanders this past Friday morning announced multiple roster moves, including having signed unrestricted free agent receiver Stefon Diggs. We last Wednesday afternoon had the reports that Washington and Diggs had agreed on a one-year contract worth up to $12 million, and the team signing Diggs became official this past Friday morning. Major news, Washington's biggest acquisition during a training camp in years. Diggs practiced with the team during its two practices over the last 3 days, a practice on Friday morning and a practice on Saturday Saturday morning. The practice on Saturday morning was a padded practice. Each practice was open to all fans, and the practice on Friday morning drew a big crowd from Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 Washington in a post on X on Friday morning, quote, "By far the biggest crowd of training camp today," end quote. Now, Diggs is being ramped up. The team isn't just having him fully practice from the get-go, but he appears to be in terrific shape. He did a post-practice press conference on Friday morning. He, during the presser, repeatedly swatted at and got annoyed by flies or bugs that were around him. If you watch the video of the presser, you know exactly of what I speak. But this was Diggs on Friday morning on why he signed with Washington, and then you'll hear a follow-up back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Diggs.
My family's here. My support system is here. I love everything about home and the organization. They take care of their players. Some good people over here. I had some existing relationships from guys that were in Houston, so some carryover there. They got a great young quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I'm familiar with young quarterbacks. He's a star. He's a superstar. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for this team. It's only my first day out, FDL, first day out, so, still getting to know everybody. And, I'm a little late in the game. They started camp already, but I'm trying to get used to it and not speed up the process, just do it organically.
So what do you feel that you're going to
still?
What do you add here? And as you've matured in your career, where is it that you feel maybe you've improved?
As far as skill set or more so just leadership, where are you at? I'm asking you.
Thank you.
I've been around the game for a long time. I've been productive. I kind of know my way around the field a little bit, so I come with a little bit of experience, I would say. And then leadership, I know everybody's led differently. I'm new here, so just trying to earn my keep and earn the respect of my teammates, earn the respect of my coaches. Most importantly right now, learn the playbook. I'm a little late in the game, but I'm handling it the right way, be a professional, and I'm just excited to be at work. I had a little bit of a long off season.
And that was off a terrific 2025 season for Stefon Diggs with the New England Patriots. On last Thursday's show, episode 1382, discussed a number of impressive stats for Diggs for the 2025 regular season. Here's something that I did not mention. I came across this past Saturday afternoon. Stefon Diggs' first regular season with each of his previous 4 teams resulted in a division title. The 2015 Minnesota Vikings went 11-5 and won the NFC North. The 2020 Buffalo Bills went 13-3 and won the AFC East. The 2024 Houston Texans went 10-7 and won the AFC South. The 2025 New England Patriots went 14-3 and won the AFC East. What will happen with the 2026 Washington Commanders? We on Friday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Nicky Javala of The Athletic and Stefon Diggs, and then we'll hear a follow-up back and forth between Lake Lewis Jr. of 106.1 ESPN Richmond and Diggs.
What was it like just this offseason, not really knowing where you're going to end up?
Yeah.
And how was that for you?
Well, it was new, but, we had a little bit of an idea. We kind of wanted to slow play it and do whatever made the most sense at this stage in my career. Everybody know what I want. I want to win, and I want to hold the trophy up. So what a better place to do it than back home. And, got to work every day to try to get there. But here I am putting one foot in front of the other. I just try to take it one day at a time and treat things organically. And I'm gratitude eliminates entitlement, so I come here graceful, I'm thankful, and I'm happy to be here.
Right here.
I got you. Thanks.
Welcome home, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Seeing how far this team went 2 years ago,
a
game away from the Super Bowl. You were just in the Super Bowl last year. Do you feel like that's something that maybe you could be that missing link to help get this?
I don't want to say that. I'm gonna do the best that I can, from my point of view of just being a receiver, being open, being a leader, trying to lead by example and push the guys around me. My biggest thing is I always try to push the guys around me to the best version of themselves. We slowly kind of building that already. It's day one. We had a lot of conversations, more than I thought we would have. Guys coming up to me and me just throwing a little gym here and there. I'm older. I've been around the game for a little while now, like I said earlier, but I'm graceful and I'm just trying to give them everything that I got, and at the same time, more show than tell. I can say a bunch of hoopla, but I'd rather just go out there and hoop and show you why I did what I did, or kind of just communicate through the actions.
And then also, just one more.
You good? They got to get y'all some better mics too. I can barely hear y'all.
Okay. So it's I'll speak up. So it's only been 1 day.
Yeah.
But impressions of some of the receivers you've been working with so far?
Yeah. I mean, they got talent. They got a lot of talent. Brown, he's been to a couple teams, but this is his first team he was at. I see that he has a lot of potential. He's made some plays. Terry, obviously, Trey Burks, he was in Tennessee. He's been in the league for a little while too. So, and then you got the young guys. 14 can hoop a little bit. Young guys don't get a name in the beginning, just call him by the number. But he can hoop a little bit. He got some game, and hopefully I can be a piece in their process that can kind of build this team and lead this team in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, I just want to win, man. Winning is the main thing for me. We had a little bit of that last year, a lot of it of that last year, and I kind of want that to just carry over. And all I can bring is my experience and the things that I've done and my leadership.
Well, how about Stefon Diggs calling out the poor job that the Washington Commanders at times do with miking up reporters at press conferences? Good for Diggs for saying that. So true. And I especially liked what Diggs said about receiver Antonio Williams. Quote, 14 can hoop a little bit, end quote. Head coach Dan Quinn, he did a pre-practice press conference on Friday morning. This was Quinn during the opening statement of that presser.
Well, let's get rolling. First things first, we're definitely fired up to welcome Stefon Diggs to the team, and he's a tremendous player. We know that, but what I've heard more and more this week is about what kind of leader he's been to the younger players and on teams that he's been a part of, and the energy he brings not just to the field but also to the sidelines. So our plan will be to work him in slowly as we're going through today, tomorrow, into the next block. But man, are we happy to bring him back home and have him as part of our Commander family.
All right. As far as the practice plan for Stefon Diggs, we on Friday morning had this back and forth between Nikki Javala and Dan Quinn.
With Stefon, what is sort of the plan for him today, the next couple of days, as you kind of integrate?
And so yesterday got a chance to meet and visit with him some, so we'll start working him in slowly. And as we get more accustomed, like honestly, playbook-wise, scheme to go. So he's in fantastic shape. So really just today and tomorrow, kind of start building up and some of the reps that he's comfortable with, and then we'll start adding from there.
Is adding a player like that do for the offense, especially obviously this past game?
Yeah, and you've heard us say that, like Adam has said, and I have too, that we're pleased with the receiver group as a whole, and so to add another player into it, you want to talk about competitive nature and where to go, like Steph's at the very, high list of competitors, and so to add somebody like that to the group, that's a really big deal for us. So I'm really excited to work with him. Pretty rare you get to coach two brothers, so I got a cool text from little brother last night about the impact he's had and the amazing leader that his older brother has been, and pushed him into things. So yeah, I think that's you don't get to do that very often, and so I'm very much looking forward to getting a chance to coach Steph and build that relationship with him.
Yeah, Stefon Diggs' brother is unrestricted free agent cornerback Trayvon Diggs, who went to Wooten High School in Rockville, Maryland, and then went to the Avalon School in Wheaton, Maryland, and then went to the University of Alabama. Stefon Diggs went to Our Lady of Good Counsel High School in Olney, Maryland, and then went to the University of Maryland. But Dan Quinn coached Trayvon Diggs during Quinn's 3 seasons as Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, the 2021 through 2023 seasons. When it came to how Stefon Diggs' first practice with Washington went, we, during Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning, had this exchange between John Keim and Dan Quinn.
Curious what you felt or what you thought about Stefon's first day here?
Yeah, I think number one, you feel like his intent, his quickness, going through the individual. I like his heightened football skills, awareness. So yeah, it was good to have him back on the field.
Well, to me, the most notable thing from Dan Quinn over the last few days on Stefon Diggs was Quinn during his pre-practice press conference on Friday morning multiple times talking up Diggs as a slot receiver. As we have discussed, Diggs, for the Pats' last regular season and playing in all 17 of the team's games, played about an even distribution of snaps in the slot versus snaps on the outside. Diggs in the 2025 regular season, per data on RotoWire, lined up in the slot on 3 300 plays, lined up on the outside on 285 plays, and lined up tight on 11 plays. So we on this past Friday's show, episode 1383, got good insight on how Washington should use Diggs via our conversation with Washington Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room on Substack. But take a listen to the multiple times in which Dan Quinn on Friday morning talked up Stefon Diggs as a slot receiver. We on Friday morning had this exchange between John Keim and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Dan, with Stefon, what does he bring to this offense? And when you're watching film, what is he still does at a higher level?
Yeah, I think when you see him work inside, John, inside as a slot player, he's got great feel. He's a great competitor. But those are a few of the things, that jump out to us. He's somebody certainly that can move the chains, and like how important that is to have somebody that has the detail of option routes and, specifics, but specifically inside, man, is he an effective player in that way?
So Dan Quinn, in his answer, immediately went to saying how good Stefon Diggs is as a slot receiver, and then at the end of the answer, went back to saying how good Diggs is as a slot receiver. We on Friday morning had this back and forth between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Dan Quinn.
Dan, obviously, you presume you coached against Stefon Diggs at some point. Do you recall any situations or games that stood out going against him?
Yeah, too many, unfortunately. But I think just like his suddenness inside, like that's when you're a slot, that's hard to guard, and especially in like when you have to deny the ball. Some of the third downs where you don't want space and you want to attach to somebody and play man to man, and hey man, we're going to try to deny him here. When you have quickness and you can beat somebody when you're playing man to man, there's explosive plays after that. Oftentimes in zone, the person can catch it, but you're going to see it. It might be a first down. With him, man to man, you better be ready, because if he does beat you across your face or you lose leverage, like this is going to be an explosive play. Not to say that every throw to him short, but you better know how you're going to bracket him, where you're going to go. So those are significant game planning, procedures that you go through.
And this is a way too early question since he hasn't even practiced yet, but considering there's going to be a ramp-up period, does playing him in the preseason make more sense than it would be like if he already had been here and maybe...
Yeah, we haven't hit on any of that yet. We'll kind of have some of those discussions going into the next block, so the team will rock it today, tomorrow, and then Sunday the players have off, and that's kind of where we'll start building, who would do what and where.
Okay, but again, Dan Quinn preaching how good Stefon Diggs is as a slot receiver. Quote, his suddenness inside, end quote. So all of this absolutely makes you think that Washington, or at least Dan Quinn, views Stefon Diggs as more of a slot receiver than an outside receiver. And so that led us to this. We on Friday morning had this exchange between Ben Standig and Dan Quinn.
Dan, you mentioned Stefon and how you had to defend him before, and mentioned the slot. What does his presence do in terms of reps, playing time, future for Antonio Williams, Luke, Jalen Lane, the guys you drafted who typically are playing inside?
Yeah, so we'll work through that over the next month, Ben, and he won't exclusively play just the slot, but that does bring up the question of how we'd feature guys, 2 receivers, 3 receivers, who'd play in, what down and distances. So we'll work through that. That's why it is nice to have him here today and begin that process together. But it's also kind of like ramping up our competition in a group that I like, who they stand for. Like I like what that feels like, to see where it plays out, so to speak. So as the competitor coach in me, it's good. And so those are good things that you want to figure out.
All right, so Dan Quinn saying of Stefon Diggs, quote, he won't exclusively play just the slot, end quote. Stefon Diggs strikes me as slot mostly, but not slot only. But yeah, Washington in Diggs, Antonio Williams, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey has 4 receivers who, in theory, are best used as slot receivers. How about Diggs' take on all of this? So we on Friday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Stefon Diggs.
Throughout your career, you've been a guy that moved around all over the field, whether it's X, Z, in the slot.
Yes.
What allows you to move around to those different spots, and how does it make you more difficult to defend?
Just my commitment to, the playbook, getting comfortable with the quarterback, trying to see it how he see it. Like, I learned that a little bit throughout my past like 5 years, see it how the quarterback sees it, not how you see it, because he got an O-line in front of him, he got running backs near him, he got a lot in his face, and he's a lot of stuff he's processing in the play. So you want to be in the right spot at the right time, and I kind of just want to see it from a bird's eye view, the quarterback view, what I'm saying, and give him the confidence. Only way you get the ball in this league, you make plays for your quarterback. That's how you get him comfortable. That's how you get him in the right spot like this. I can trust this guy and being at the right spot and moving around. If you want the ball, you got to be able to move around. I mean, you can go play one spot, but they cloud coverage and they double, and it makes it harder for it. And it's good being around other players that can ball. Like, it's going to be hard to double somebody in this offense. You got guys that can make plays and guys who can make plays out of the backfield. You got a mobile quarterback. So the biggest thing is for me, just my commitment to the game. I've been committed. I play outside. I play inside. I do a little bit of the backfield, if they let me. So we'll see.
Something else to be thinking about with Washington's usage of Stefon Diggs is the potential for a pitch count. Diggs suffered a torn ACL in his right knee in October 2024 while playing for the Texans, but he for the Pats in the 2025 season played in all 17 of their regular season games and in all 4 of the team's postseason games as the Pats won the AFC Championship. So he very much demonstrated that he's healthy. The Pats, though, very much had him on a pitch count, or at least that's how things worked out. Diggs for the Pats last regular season played in all 17 of the team's games, but on just 54.67% of the team's offensive snaps. So the 2026 season will be his age 33 season. We on Friday morning had this back and forth with Dan Quinn.
Last year when Steph was coming off an injury, New England had him play about 55% of the snaps. Do you anticipate him being on any kind of pitch count this year?
We haven't gone through that far yet, to see packages, what we play, how we feature it. So we haven't, dug down into that yet. I just know he's in great shape, and we're ready to start building him in. But as far as how much and where, we haven't gone down that road yet.
I know you kind of just touched on it, but with Stefon, as you guys have talked a lot, you really like the guys in the room. Why did you find it important to go out, spend the money, and get another guy?
Yeah, I think that's the nature of competing, right? To say, okay, what ways can we help the team get better? And that's always at the forefront of Adam and his thinking, and at receiver or at any position. So we like the competitive makeup of the group, and so this just made a lot of sense, for us to add Steph here. And like I said, we're really pumped to get started with him. But I was excited to hear more and more, about him, about, the teammate, the leader. And so I think those things are cool too.
And regarding the intangibles of Stefon Diggs, so props to Tashawn Reed, who was the only reporter who on Friday asked Dan Quinn or Stefon Diggs about Diggs' off-the-field stuff. I, on last Thursday's show, went through the most notable recent off-the-field stuff with Stefon Diggs. Hard to know how legit the stuff is, but the stuff is out there. Now, Washington General Manager Adam Peters has surely looked into the stuff and presumably feels comfortable with the stuff as the team, signed Diggs. But again, the stuff is out there. We on Friday morning had this exchange between Tashawn Reed and Dan Quinn.
DQ with Steph, I know this offseason he had some off-the-field issues, and I know that anytime that kind of stuff happens, it's always a question of if the league office may have any suspensions or things of that nature. I know character is important to you guys. What went into vetting that side of things before bringing them in, and what made you guys so confident that it wouldn't be an issue?
For Steph or any of the guys, we've got a really good process, that we go through, and when we bring players in. And so we were certainly comfortable, with that process, and we're excited to have them.
And Dan Quinn answering that question exactly as you would expect him to answer that question. But in fairness to Stefon Diggs, he, by all accounts, was a terrific leader for the Pats last season. We got good insight on that via our conversation with New England Patriots insider Mike Debate of SI.com on episode 1329 of this podcast. We on Friday morning had this exchange with Dan Quinn.
Dan, you've mentioned the leadership aspect of it multiple times. What in particular have you learned about him that makes that kind of a bright spot?
Yeah, I think just like early connections with people. There was definitely a buzz about it, but he had more connections here than even I thought. Like, obviously being here, but I'm talking about player-wise, who's on the team. And so that's not that normal, where like this guy, when you haven't played with them before. So people speak to the work ethic, the practice ethic, and so those are some of the things I'm very much looking forward to seeing. Those are things, that's who you are. It's not something that doesn't travel, and so we're excited to add that type of competitor to our group.
And maybe as exciting as anything with Stefon Diggs, he has worked really well with young quarterbacks. Josh Allen with the Bills, C.J. Stroud with the Texans, Drake May with the Pats. So we'll see what happens between Diggs and Washington's QB1, Jaden Daniels, in his third NFL season. We on Friday morning had this back and forth between WUSA 9 sports anchor Marshall Kramsky and Stefon Diggs.
I spoke to some of your former teammates, and one of the biggest things they take away is how much you help younger quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Last year, obviously, I picked right behind Jaden. Why do you take on that role? How do you help them? Can you take us inside?
Inside the brain of mine, just communication, transparency. I try not to go into things aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not this game. Like, this game is aggressive enough, and quarterbacks got a lot on their plate, so I kind of just bring it down a notch and talk to them in a way, hey, how you doing? Talk to them in a way as if brother to brother. Like, it's football, we playing football, but at the same time, like, just tell me what you're thinking, communicate, open line of communication rule the nation, that's what I say. And with young quarterbacks, they got a lot on their plate, so making plays for them give them confidence. You know what I'm saying? That put a battery in their back to feel like, man, I could do anything out here. Like, that's how I try to help them, just by playing well. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest thing. All the chatter and this, it's good to have here and there. You know what I'm saying? People have a bad play, your next play, your best play, little reminders like that. But the biggest thing, bar none, go make plays for them. You make plays for them, that's how they look good. That's how they build confidence. That's how they become, they already have the talent. Jaden has proved he's, in my opinion, a superstar. You know what I'm saying? Just carrying that on and continue their MVP type of time. That's what I think.
Speaking of chatter, a few weeks ago, you said that you'd be the best wide receiver 2 in the league.
Yeah.
Do you stand by that? Why'd you say it?
I would have said 1. I mean, that's just my personal feelings, but you know what I'm saying? I kind of take it with a grain of salt. I give people the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? If people kind of feel the way about that, like, in this profession, in this job, you gotta elude confidence. You know what I'm saying? I can't go into anything saying something else. Like, I said 2 on camera, but in my heart, I'm gonna say 1. You know what I'm saying? But humbly, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? People have favorite players, but my numbers have always spoke for themselves. No matter who you like or what you say, the production has been there. If you put my production versus any production, you know what I'm saying? I think I was the number 14th receiver last year. And I was playing 52% of the snaps. You know what I'm saying? Numbers-wise, I mean, I'm not no mathematician, but, you know what I'm saying? I try to leave that right there. But I say that humbly. I say that from the space of I've worked extremely hard. I've always been productive. It's easy to say, it's this guy's better and that guy better. Well, it's personal opinion. What were they grading? What was the numbers? You know what I'm saying? Everything is situational. I went into a situation all coming off of ACL. You know what I'm saying? Coming off of ACL with a team that went, I don't know what the record was. You know what I'm saying? So to have that success and coming off of ACL, not a lot of people bounce back. Not a lot of people have success coming off of ACL that fast. So I'm speaking with confidence just off the work that I put in. And I say that humbly. I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way or be abrasive in any way, but I say that from confidence and the amount of work I put in and the success I had last year, being around the right group of guys and playing well. And, that's not easy. You know what I'm saying? People might act like it's easy, but if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So forgive me if I rubbed anybody the wrong way.
All right. Well, just as Washington just added to its receiving core, you can add to your clothing core with Quince. Quince has Stefon Diggs caliber clothing. Quince is all about fewer, better pieces. Quince's clothes are made with premium materials built to last and designed to become the ones that you reach for day after day. I've been telling you about my sand dune colored cotton chino drawstring shorts from Quince. Clothes from Quince become your go-to items like a go-to receiver. Quince specializes in everyday staples that work harder, like Quince's ultra-soft organic cotton tees and premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're versatile, timeless, and transition seamlessly from a casual workday to dinner out. If you're still hanging on to the same worn-out basics, Quince makes it easy to upgrade. Quince has premium denim and tailored chinos from just $60 with the kind of perfect fit, structure, and high-quality fabrics you'd expect from a luxury designer brand. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Goldie. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns, now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Goldie. Free shipping and 365-day returns, quince.com/Goldie.
Big color, bigger savings. Sherwin-Williams Super Sale is here. Get 40% off paints and stains August 7th through the 13th with prices starting at $30.89. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
More now from 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. I, at the beginning of last segment, mentioned that Washington on Friday morning announced multiple roster moves. The moves included notable items beyond the team announcing having signed unrestricted free agent receiver Stefon Diggs. Washington on Friday morning announced having removed cornerback Trey Amos from the active/physically unable to perform list. Announced having removed defensive end Dorrance Armstrong from the active/physically unable to perform list. Announced having removed punter Tress Way from the active/non-football injury list, and announced having release guard Tyler Cooper. And Washington on Saturday morning announced multiple roster moves. Washington on Saturday morning announced having placed defensive tackle DJ Davidson on the reserve/retired list, announced having released receiver Chris Hilton Jr. and guard Timothy McKay, and announced having signed 3 unrestricted free agent offensive linemen, center Daniel Brunskill, offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere, and guard Max Sharping. So let's go through the most notable moves from all of this. First of all, good news on Dorrance Armstrong, Trey Amos, and Tress Way. Armstrong had been on the active/physically unable to perform list since July 25th as he recovered from a torn ACL that he suffered in Washington's 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys last October 19th. Amos had been on the active/physically unable to perform list since July 25th as he was dealing with soft tissue soreness off the fractured fibula that he suffered in Washington's 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium this past November 9th, and Way had been on the active/non-football injury list due to a pectoral muscle injury. So Washington now has just one player on a list due to injury. Defensive end Dietrich Wise Jr. is on the active/physically unable to perform list. He has been on that since July 25th due to the torn quadriceps that he suffered in Washington's 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past September 11th. Additionally, Washington has 2 offensive players out with injury, but still on the active roster. Center Nick Allegretti, calf strain, and tight end John Bates, hamstring strain. But regarding Dorrance Armstrong, Trey Amos, and Tress Way all being back, we, during Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Friday morning, had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
With Trey, Dorrance especially, was there what's it like to get them back? And was there any surprise on Dorrance maybe getting back this early?
I think he's ahead for sure, so I wouldn't say surprised, but they have really put in good good work to get there. So for him, specifically talking about DA, it'll be more individual here for a little while, but that does allow him to get back with his teammates. It allows him to participate in some of the walkthroughs in the evening, so he won't get into any of the team reps just yet, but sometimes in his case, it's a long road, and man, they've worked really hard to get back into this space. So days like today, those kind of milestones, man, I've made it back onto the field. It's a big deal, and Trey as well. So to see those guys back here, man, they are chomping at the bit to get more.
Okay, and Dan Quinn, during his pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning, did give us an update on Nick Allegretti and John Bates. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn.
Do you have any update on Nick Allegretti? I know it's been about a week since he suffered that calf strain.
Yep, I can kind of give you both on Nick and John Bates are in a similar spot. It'll probably be another week or so. I'll have a better assessment as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, but likely they're getting closer, but not today, but not long term either.
So Nick Allegretti and John Bates per Dan Quinn, quote, another week or so, end quote. I'm not too worried about Bates. He's a high-level blocking tight end entering his 6th NFL season and age 29 season. I mean, I don't like that he's out, but, I can live with him being out for a bit. The Allegretti absence is more concerning because he is the favorite to be the team's new starting center, and the team has a new offense via the team having a new offensive coordinator in David Blau. The good news is that Allegretti is a veteran. He's entering his 8th NFL season and age 30 season, so the missed time by no means should ruin him, but him missing so much time isn't ideal. And Dan Quinn, during his pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning, very interestingly admitted that Allegretti missing this much time is an issue. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Dan Quinn.
The longer that Nick is out, with it being kind of, say, another week or so, do you start getting concerned about, the physical work on the field and the being in shape and kind of getting the actual reps with Jaden and company?
Yeah, it's a natural concern, but it's like, what can we control in that space? So he's able to participate in the evening walkthroughs and that. So there's, a progress being made that, on the field, huddle, calls, communication. But you're right that there's nothing like the practice reps that are going full on to go hit it. So better earlier than later, I would say. So it leaves us some space and a better runway to go. But he's chomping at the bit to get back. It's not long, but we're going to make sure we hit each step to get there.
So, Dan Quinn on the missed time for Nick Allegretti, quote, "It's a natural concern," end quote. Quinn was not yelling and screaming about how worried he is about the missed time for Allegretti, but Quinn also did not push back on the idea of the missed time being concerning. And then with Washington on Saturday morning announcing having placed defensive tackle DJ Davidson on the reserve/retired list, what is going on with all of these Washington players retiring this training camp season? Washington on July 27th announced having placed linebacker and special teams ace Nick Bellore on the reserve/retired list. Washington last Tuesday morning, August 4th, announced having placed cornerback Akello Witherspoon on the reserve/retired list. And now Washington this past Saturday morning announced having placed defensive tackle DJ Davidson on the reserve/retired list. For those of you who are WWE fans, Dan Quinn is the Washington Commanders' version of Gunther. Gunther is a top heel, a top bad guy in WWE, which has pushed him hard by having him over the last year plus retire 3 major stars in Bill Goldberg, John Cena, and AJ Styles. Well, Dan Quinn's training camp has retired Nick Bellore, Akello Witherspoon, and DJ Davidson. Dan Quinn is Gunther. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Dan Quinn.
Dan, you guys made some moves. DJ Davidson retired.
Yes,
it's the third guy that's retired basically since the start of camp. That seems like a high number. I'm just curious, like, is that abnormal for years?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just custom. It's good that I had conversations with all 3 guys and. Like different places in their career and that kind of stuff. But all of them, thought through, people in their circle that they had to, visit with. So, DJ, certainly wish him the best for sure.
Yeah, all the best to DJ Davidson, but hopefully we're done with Washington players retiring this training camp season. The kicker competition, Jake Moody versus Drew Stevens. Jake Moody, the incumbent, Drew Stevens, an undrafted rookie out of the University of Iowa. Here's what you need to know. Drew Stevens right now is winning the competition. That can change. Nothing's set in stone. How these guys do over Washington's 2 joint practices this month will matter a lot. How these guys do over Washington's 3 games in the NFL's 2026 preseason will matter a lot. But right now, at this point in time, Drew Stevens is in the lead. Here are the stats for these training camp practices. I've gathered these stats via reports from various people who cover the team. Jake Moody is 28 for 35 on field goals, with all 7 misses coming over the last 3 practices during which the team had field goal sessions. Drew Stevens is 34 for 36. Moody, 28 for 35. Stevens, 34 for 36. Big difference. Stevens is perceived to have the stronger kicking leg. 2 big questions with him are his lack of NFL experience and his accuracy, but he so far in training camp has been better than Moody on field goals, and the team has made it pretty clear that field goals are by far the number 1 determining factor in who wins the competition. Tress Way, who of course is Washington's primary holder, he did a post-practice press conference on Friday morning. We during that presser had this exchange between Ben Standig and Way.
really want to ask about the mustache, but with the kickers, we see the ball go through the uprights. What do you see with these two guys? What stands out about it?
Yeah. I would like to address the mustache real quick, so 1.5 questions. I know it's nasty, and I'm here for it, but it was a team building thing amongst a couple of guys, and Chef Brandon, we had a bunch of guys in the locker room and throughout the facility that we're in, and then my wife and I, we enjoy country music, and after we're done with walkthrough, meetings, treatment, we're going to make it over just in time for the Riley Green concert, and so I wanted to sport that through the Riley Green concert. Thought it might look as good as his. It does not, and so it'll be shaved after that, but the kicking competition, it's fun watching two guys, we were talking a little bit about punting too, two different styles, and watching them compete, go toe-to-toe whenever you're competing for your job. The biggest thing that people will look for is how you're striking the ball, because you're playing in Washington, you're in the NFC East, you're going to have some tough weather, you're going to have some cold weather, and if you're striking the ball well and consistently, that is usually whenever kickers are going to find a way to play the wind and play the situation, but you really want to find somebody who's just looks like the balls are coming out of a jugs machine. You're just over and over again. So there's a little tidbit for you in the nerdy specialist talk. When you guys are watching the competition, pay attention to the ball flight. So, yeah.
And that is an excellent point by Tress Way. You want good ball flight from your kicker on field goal attempts. End over end ball flight, not a wounded duck. You don't want wounded duck ball flight. More on the kicker competition. We on Friday morning had this exchange with Tress Way.
You got two kickers here. I know you're on the outside looking in at that, but I don't know, earlier in your career, were you in a similar position with battling out at camp, and what is that like?
Yeah, I remember when I first got here to Washington in 2014, there was another veteran punter here by the name of Robert Malone. Really strong leg, and probably his bomb that he hits, I could not hit as big of a bomb, but my strength was I could be a little bit more consistent. It's hey, I'm not going to hit that, huge ball, but man, I can hit good ball, and trying, death by 1,000 cuts, if you will. And so it's when you come out to practice every single day and you have that competition on your mind, you really find an identity in yourself on the field. You find like a way that's an intense practice when you're in a competition, man. That might as well be a game. I mean, it's the real deal. And we are very fortunate that we have two very good kickers right now battling it out. So we're coming out on top either way there. Yeah.
Well, hopefully our team for years has had instability at kicker. I mentioned that how Jake Moody and Drew Stevens do over Washington's 2 joint practices this month will matter a lot, and that how these guys do over Washington's 3 games in the NFL's 2026 preseason will matter a lot. The first of the joint practices is this Wednesday morning, a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins at the site of Washington Training Camp. The team facility, what officially is Big Bear.AI Performance Center at Commanders Park in Ashburn, Virginia. And then we have Washington versus Miami at Northwest Stadium this Friday night at 7 in each team's 2026 preseason opener. The joint practice has become a big deal, in a lot of ways bigger than the preseason game. The widespread expectation is that key Washington players will get far more work in this joint practice with the Dolphins than key Washington players will get in this preseason game against the Dolphins. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Zavala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Going back to the joint practices, have those become the critical piece of competition for the starters more so than preseason games anymore?
I think there's probably some balance in both, Nikki, where it's not just one or the other, but having 2 of them certainly helps. And so for us, Miami, Baltimore with a game sandwiched in between, I like how that flows. But as far as who plays what and how much, I think that's a good, next week question. But what I can say is that there's a lot of value in these, and I can see moving forward why it's good for the league, it's good for us. As not an alternative to a game, but in addition to it, it's a good thing.
Well, Washington's other joint practice this month is at the Baltimore Ravens on August 26th, and then we have Washington at Baltimore on Friday evening, August 28th at 6 in each team's 2026 preseason finale. Hopefully, that joint practice does not get canceled. The Ravens last August 14th announced that a joint practice for the Commanders and Ravens at Washington's team facility had been canceled due to, quote, logistical challenges, end quote. That from a statement from the Ravens. Washington last August 6th did participate in a joint practice at the New England Patriots, and it was during that practice that the Pats offense had a good bit of success against Washington's defense. That turned out to be telling. Look, a joint practice in hindsight can be telling. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between John Keim and Dan Quinn.
I'm looking ahead a little bit to the joint practices. I'm curious, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned the last couple of years about your team in those? Like in Miami, Jaden, in the red zone, you guys, last year the Patriots seemed to move the ball a little bit. I'm curious, what are some of the biggest takeaways you've learned from them that you can help you move?
Yeah, it's important, John. I think I'll split it up in a couple of ways. One, I like it for the competitiveness, like going against the same guys, you starting to learn formations and players and people. So like just for the sake of new, like you against I, new group, I like that. I also like it for the evaluation of that too, of seeing who steps up, who gets into those spaces. So those would be two of them. And then in the practice itself, it might be a little bit more creative than the actual games. Meaning like plays and that, to where you may not show some of those into the games, but in the practice you may work a little bit more. But I like that we get skill work, one-on-ones, and then the team period, some scripted, some not, but it's a good deal for us.
Is there any time you go, this didn't look good?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like, are we behind in an area? Is there an area, hey, this needs more attention, this is taking longer than we think to get ready? So, yeah, that's part of it for sure. Or we may be more of something.
And that, of course, is what you want. Hey, whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, a corporate gathering, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, Catering by Uptown. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are terrific Washington Commanders fans, and Catering by Uptown will provide you and your event with excellent service. Catering by Uptown staff on the day of your event is the first to arrive and last to leave, and is fully prepared to offer quality, variety, and abundance, prepared to execute the plan that you and Catering by Uptown created together. Catering by Uptown specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. This episode of the podcast is from Monday, August 10th. It is the day on which the Washington Nationals have their first off day since July 23rd. The Nats just played a stretch of 17 consecutive days with no off day, 17 games in 17 days. The Nats over that stretch went just 7-10, but the Nats ended the stretch with a 3-game sweep of the Cincinnati Reds at Nationals Park over the weekend. Friday night, a 5-3 win over the Reds in a game for which the start was delayed for 1 hour and 2 minutes due to rain. Saturday evening, an 8-2 win over the Reds, and Sunday afternoon, a 7-1 win over the Reds. First time that the Nats have swept a series of at least 3 games since a 3-game sweep at the Milwaukee Brewers this past April 10th through the 12th. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 59-61 with a run differential of plus 24. The Reds in this regular season now are 56-61 with a run differential of minus 74. The Nats in the National League wildcard standings are just a game and a half ahead of the Reds, despite having a run differential that is 100 runs better than the Reds' run differential, plus 24 versus minus 74. So The Nats, in the lead-up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which was last Monday, August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern, traded away 3 key players in infielder Curtis Mead, first baseman Luis Garcia Jr., and starting pitcher Foster Griffin. The Nats last Tuesday evening, August 4th, announced having placed outfielder James Wood on the 10-day injured list due to a left oblique strain. The Nats offense is down multiple key guys, no doubt. The offense had cooled off, but the Nats offense in the team sweeping this 3-game series against the Reds at Nationals Park over the weekend was very good. The Nats over the 3 games totaled 20 runs. The 5-3 win over the Reds on Friday night. The Nats weren't great offensively, but they scored 5 runs, all of which scored on 2 home runs. The Nats had 7 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 4 singles. The Nats went 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Did draw just 2 walks, but Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, went 2 for 4 with a 3-run homer and a double. Harry Ford, he is the Nats starting catcher and number 6 batter, went 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer. The 8-2 win over the Reds on Saturday evening. The Nats were great offensively, 8 runs, 10 hits, which were 4 doubles and 6 singles, 4 walks, 6 for 7 with runners in scoring position. The Reds starting pitcher was Chase Burns, who they took with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 MLB first-year player draft out of Wake Forest. He came into the game with an ERA of 2.35 over 21 games, all starts in this regular season, but the Nats got to Burns. The Nats burned Burns. So he officially allowed 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Andres Chaparro came into the game to pinch hit in DH. He went 2 for 2 with a 2-run double and an RBI single. C.J. Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, went 2 for 5 with a double and an RBI single. Abimelec Ortiz, as the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run single. Dalen Lyle, as the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. And the 7-1 win over the Reds on Sunday afternoon. The Nats 7 runs, 13 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 11 singles, 2 walks, 4 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Abimelec Ortiz, he is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 2 for 3 with a solo homer and a single. Ortiz in the Nats 1-run third had a leadoff full count homer to left field for a 3-1 Nats lead despite having been down in the count at 1.12. Andres Chaparro came into the game to pinch hit and play first base. He went 1 for 2 with a 2-run double. Chaparro in the Nats 3-run 8th had a 2-out opposite field 2-run double to the right center field gap on a 1-2 pitch for a 7-1 Nats lead. Keibert Ruiz got on base 4 times. He is the Nats starting catcher and number 8 batter, went 3 for 3 with an RBI single, 2 other singles, and an intentional walk. And Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, went 2 for 4 with an RBI single and another single. Very good series for Dalen Lyle, who had been slumping. He, for this regular season, now has an OPS of 717. And very intriguing what the Nats have going on at first base with Andres Chaparro and Abimelec Ortiz. They essentially are tag teaming to replace Luis Garcia Jr., and the results so far have been good. Chaparro for this regular season at the major league level, 115 plate appearances, OPS of 848. The Nats got Ortiz from the Texas Rangers as part of the 5 prospect package for starting pitcher Mackenzie Gore via trade this past January 22nd. The Nats this past Monday afternoon, August 3rd, announced having recalled Ortiz from AAA Rochester. He for the Nats at the major league level in this regular season, 23 plate appearances, OPS of 895. Small sample size, of course, but so far, so good. The Nats pitching in the team sweeping this 3-game series against the Reds at Nationals Park over the weekend was great. The Nats over the 3 games allowed just 6 runs. The 5-3 win over the Reds on Friday night, Cade Cavalli allowed 3 runs in 6 innings with 8 strikeouts. He was mostly good. The problem was that he gave up 5 extra base hits, including 3 home runs. He gave up 7 hits, 5 of which were extra base hits, gave up 3 home runs, 2 doubles, and 2 singles, issued 2 walks, threw 100 pitches, 65 strikes, 35 balls. His velocity was good. He per StatCast had an average 4-seam fastball velocity of 97.4 miles per hour. Cade Cavalli now in this regular season, 25 games, all starts, ERA of 3.57, whip of 1.30, strikeouts per 9 innings of 9.86. And the Nats relief pitching in the 5-3 win over the Reds on Friday night, 3 Nats relievers combined for 3 scoreless and hitless innings. Giovanni Cruz tossed a scoreless and hitless inning. He came into the game in the top of the 7th with runners at the corners, no outs, and the Nats up up 5-3, and he put out the fire. He, in facing 3 batters, generated a swinging strikeout, issued a 1-out walk, and induced a 6-3 double play. He, per StatCast, had an average four-seam fastball velocity of 101.5 miles per hour. The Nats on August 2nd announced having traded first baseman Luis Garcia Jr. to the New York Yankees for 4 pitchers, including Cruz. Orlando Revolta tossed a perfect top of the 8th. Clayton Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 9th for the save. The 8-2 win over the Reds on Saturday evening. Andrew Alvarez officially allowed 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. He gave up just 3 hits, all of which were singles, issued a walk and a wild pitch, recorded just 2 strikeouts, but he threw a lot of strikes, 73 pitches, 50 strikes, just 23 balls, and he extended his streak of not allowing a home run to 51 2/3 innings. And that especially stands out given how many home runs this Nats pitching staff overall has allowed. The Nats for this regular season, as of games through Saturday, had given up the 3rd most home runs in MLB, 165. Andrew Alvarez now at the major league level in this regular season, 17 games, including 9 starts, ERA of 3.76, whip of 1.40. He has put a good number of guys on base, strikeouts per 9 innings of 8.44. And the Nats relief pitching in the 8-2 win over the Reds on Saturday evening. 4 Nats relievers officially combined to allow 1 run in 3 2/3 innings. Max Kranick officially allowed 1 run in 2/3 of an inning. He, in the top of the 6th, gave up a 2-out 2-run homer by Eugenio Suarez to left field to tie the game at 2, despite Kranick having had Suarez down in the count at 1.12. The homer went projected 415 feet per StatCast. Nats manager Blake Butera pulled Andrew Alvarez, who's a lefty, in order to bring in Max Kranick, who's a righty, despite the fact that Alvarez was cruising. The Nats under President of Baseball Operations, Paul Taboni, are big on platoon splits. And, that adherence has paid off for the Nats plenty of times, but that adherence in this spot cost the Nats. No doubt about that. Kranick gave up a big homer. But Giovanni Cruz tossed a scoreless top of the 7th, despite issuing a leadoff walk and despite giving up a 2-out single. He generated a 3-pitch swinging strikeout of the Reds' number 1 batter, Elly De La Cruz, with runners at the corners for the 3rd out, as we had Cruz striking out De La Cruz. And the Giovanni Cruz velocity, I continue to be fascinated by this. He, per StatCast, had an average four-seam fastball velocity of 100 miles per hour. The Nats, in terms of their relief pitching, have been so needing someone like Giovanni Cruz, a flamethrower. Now, he doesn't always know where the ball is going, and that is a bit of a problem, but this guy has tremendous upside with the arm strength that he possesses. Clayton Beeter tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 8th, and Tom Cosgrove tossed a perfect top of the 9th with 2 strikeouts. In the 7-1 win over the Reds on Sunday afternoon, the Nats went with a bullpen game, and the results were really good. 4 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 9 innings with 9 strikeouts versus no walks. Brad Lord started the game. He allowed 1 run in 2 2/3 innings with 4 strikeouts versus no walks. Will Dion, in his second appearance for the Nats, tossed 3 scoreless innings. He looked really good. He threw 41 pitches, 30 strikes versus just 11 balls. The Nats last Monday evening, August 3rd, what was 2026 MLB trade deadline day, announced having traded starting pitcher Foster Griffin to the Cleveland Guardians for 4 prospects, including Dion. Trevor Williams tossed 2 1/3 scoreless innings with 2 strikeouts, and Jake Bird, in his Nats debut, tossed a perfect top of the 9th with 2 strikeouts. The Nats on Sunday morning announced having recalled Bird from AAA Rochester. They on August 2nd got Bird in the Luis Garcia Jr. trade with the Yankees. Impressive stuff from 3 Nats relief pitchers acquired in the lead-up to the trade deadline in Giovanni Cruz, Will Dion, and Jake Bird. And I tell you what, Trevor Williams is doing really well. The Nats on July 29th announced having returned Williams from his minor league rehab assignment and having reinstated him from the 60-day injured list. He had been on that since February 10th in his recovery from an internal brace procedure to repair his partially torn UCL in his right elbow. He underwent that procedure on July 17th, 2025. Williams, since coming off the 60-day injured list, 5 games, 8 1/3 scoreless innings, 11 strikeouts versus 2 walks. Also, the Nats on Friday afternoon announced having requested unconditional release waivers on starting pitcher Zach Littell. This off the team this past Wednesday afternoon, having announced having designated Littell for assignment, so he has gone from the organization. And the Nats late night on Saturday night announced having option relief pitcher Carson Palmquist to AAA Rochester. No game for the Nats on Monday. Next up for them is a 3-game series against the Chicago Cubs at Nationals Park. The Nats have not yet listed their their probable starting pitchers for the series. But Game 1, Tuesday evening at 6:45. Game 2, Wednesday evening at 6:45. Game 3, Thursday afternoon at 4:05. A big series for the Baltimore Orioles over the weekend, and they lost the series. They lost 2 out of 3 games at the Texas Rangers. Friday night, a 2-1 loss at the Rangers. Saturday night, a 5-1 loss at the Rangers. But Sunday, a 10-5 win at the Rangers to avoid a 3-game sweep. The O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 57-61 with a run differential of -33, and now are 2 games behind the Rangers for the American League's 3rd of 3 wild card spots. As the O's remarkably remain in postseason contention despite all that has happened with them. The Rangers, they in this regular season now are 59-59 with a run differential of -33. Yeah, the O's and Rangers, 2 teams battling for the American League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. Each team has a run differential of -33. The O's in the lead up to the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which was last Monday, August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern, traded away multiple notable players. Catcher Adley Rutschman, outfielder Taylor Ward, starting pitcher Dean Kramer, and relief pitcher Tyler Wells. Additionally, the O's have the following guys on injured list: catcher Samuel Basayo, third baseman / second baseman Jordan Westburg, first baseman Ryan Mountcastle, infielder / outfielder Blaze Alexander, starting pitchers Chris Bassett and Zach Eflin, and relief pitchers Felix Bautista, Ryan Helsley, Keegan Aiken, and Colin Selby. Westburg, Eflin, and Aiken are done for the season, each due to elbow surgery of some kind. If you are an O's fan, but you are not that invested in the team's playoff chase, totally understood. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but the O's are in a playoff chase, and them losing this 3-game series at the Rangers over the weekend was disappointing. The Orioles offense and the team losing this series really bad in games 1 and 2, but then great in game 3. The 2-1 loss at the Rangers on Friday night, the O's just 1 run, 7 hits, which were 2 doubles and 5 singles, just 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The O's did draw 3 walks, but we had yet another losing play from the O's in this season of losing plays for the O's. Leody Taveras, he got thrown out at home plate and trying to score from first base on a went-out first pitch opposite field double by Christian Franklin to the right field corner in the top of the 9th. The Orioles manager Craig Albernaz challenged the call of out at home, but the call was upheld. The 5-1 loss at the Rangers on Saturday night, the O's just 1 run, just 6 hits, which were a home run, 3 doubles, and 2 singles, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, 10 strikeouts. The O's did draw 3 walks, but the O's struggled against Rangers starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, who now is in his age 38 season. He allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 9 strikeouts versus 1 walk. It was good to see Jackson Holliday have a nice game. He is the Orioles starting second baseman, and number 3 batter went 2 for 3 with a solo homer, a double, and an intentional walk. But the 10-5 win at the Rangers on Sunday, the O's were outstanding offensively. 10 runs, 15 hits, which were 4 home runs, a triple, 2 doubles and 8 singles, 6 walks, 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Pete Alonso got on base 5 times. He is the Orioles starting first baseman, and number 2 batter went 3 for 3 with 2 2-run homers, a single, and 2 walks. Alonso, for this regular season, now has 25 home runs and an OPS of .818. Tyler O'Neill, he is the Orioles starting DH, and number 4 batter went 1 for 5 with a 2-run homer. Colton Cowser, he is the Orioles starting center fielder, and number 8 batter went 2 for 4 with a solo homer, a single, and a bases-loaded walk. Kobe Mayo, he is the Orioles starting third baseman, and number 7 batter went 3 for 5 with a triple and 2 singles. Jackson Holliday, he is the Orioles starting second baseman, and number 3 batter went 2 for 5 with a double, a single, and a stolen base. The Orioles starting pitching and the team losing 2 out of 3 games at the Rangers over the weekend was great in games 1 and 2, but bad in game 3, and yet the only game that the O's won was game 3. The 2-1 loss at the Rangers on Friday night. Shane Baz was superb. He tossed the Orioles' first complete game in this regular season. 2 runs in 8 innings, 9 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up just 3 hits, which were a home run and 2 singles. He threw a lot of strikes, 93 pitches, 66 strikes, just 27 balls. What a job by Shane Baz. He now in this regular season, 23 games, all starts, ERA of 3.76, whip of 1.32. The 5-1 loss at the Rangers on Saturday night. Kyle Bradish allowed 2 runs, 1 earned in 6 innings with 4 strikeouts versus no walks. Gave up 5 hits, all of which were singles, issued a hit by pitch and a wild pitch, but he threw a lot of strikes, 98 pitches, 66 strikes, just 32 balls. Did commit a throwing error, but Kyle Bradish now in this regular season, 23 games, all starts, ERA of 3.69, whip of 1.34, and the 10-5 win at the Rangers on Sunday. Kate Povich lasted for just 3 innings. He allowed 3 runs in 3 innings, gave up 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles, issued 2 walks, recorded 2 strikeouts, 61 pitches, just 33 strikes versus 28 balls. Povich in the Rangers' 3-run third gave up a 2-out first pitch, 3-run homer by Brandon Nimmo to center field to cut the Orioles' lead to 5-3. The homer went a projected 434 feet per Statcast. That was some shot by Nimmo, and Craig Albernaz was not fooling around. He got Kate Povich the heck out of the game, and the quick hook paid off. The Orioles' relief pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games at the Rangers over the weekend was mixed. The 2-1 loss at the Rangers on Friday night, the O's did not use any relief pitchers due to Shane Baz tossing a complete game. The 5-1 loss at the Rangers on Saturday night, 2 Orioles relievers combined to allow 3 runs in 2 innings. Rico Garcia tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th with 2 strikeouts, but Grant Wolfram allowed 3 runs in 1 inning. He in the bottom of the 8th gave up a 2-out 3-run homer by Corey Seager to right center field for a 5-1 Rangers lead. The homer went a projected 418 feet per Statcast. Wolfram in the inning recorded 3 strikeouts, including striking out each of the first 2 batters he faced, but then issued back-to-back 2-out walks and then gave up the homer. And the 10-5 win at the Rangers on Sunday, 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 6 innings. Yaramil Geraldo tossed 2 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. Alex Hoppe tossed a scoreless bottom of the 6th despite giving up back-to-back 1-out singles. Andrew Kittredge tossed a perfect bottom of the 7th, and Albert Suarez allowed 2 runs in 2 innings. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series at the Minnesota Twins. The O's have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Monday night at 7:40, Trevor Rogers. Game 2 Tuesday night at 7:40, Brandon Young. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 1:40, Shane Baz. And, by the way, the Twins for Monday night have listed Dean Kramer as their probable starting pitcher for the game. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1385. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Baltimore Orioles. The O's are at the Minnesota Twins Monday night at 7:40 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Position flexed.